Morning, everyone. I am Mike Walker, the Power Platform Practice Lead. I always have to take my time saying that. I've been with Central Logic for a number of years and helped to build out the Power Platform practice. And we work very closely with a lot of our clients to get the most out of their investment in the Power Platform and Microsoft 365. So we help clients with their licensing issues and challenges and help navigate that, as well as help them to architect and solution applications to help automate a lot of the processes that are currently manual or need to be replatformed. So glad to work with everyone here today, and of course it's always fun chatting with Jeff and the team.
Awesome. Mike really downplays himself. He leads an amazing team here, and I'll talk a bit about sort of how we got started with Power Platform, the low code no code solution from Microsoft. My name's Jeff Zato. I'm the least important person here today. I help manage the Microsoft relationship. I've had the pleasure of working with Mike across multiple companies. In fact, when I was at Microsoft Canada, Mike was one of my clients as a dev manager at a leading red bank here in Canada. And so I've had the pleasure of working with Mike in many different ways and always look forward to the opportunity to chat with him. So let's get this started a bit. Okay, so our thoughts on the agenda. So first of all, if you aren't as familiar with Teams, there is a chat window. Use that chat window, ask questions. As we're going through, we'll have the front end of this being a bit more sort of PowerPoint centric and level setting and giving some introductions and stuff. We'll talk a bit about some of our wins and sort of our clients and what they saw sort of as a big win in working with us in the Power Platform. And then Mike's going to go really, really deep on demo. So I think we're going to try, if I can minimize my talking, to do about half demo and half PowerPoint slides. So we'll do an overview of it for people that aren't as familiar with it. And then we'll go into discussing really where companies, and we see companies sort of taking advantage of this and leveraging this capability in different scenarios sort of in the business. We'll talk about, why this is a bit different than other, I'll call it rapid application development sort of solutions that we've seen in the past, and why really companies, and specifically IT and security, like it, because they can have those controls and insight that they need. So quickly, Mike, it looks like we're a little over half the people attending are from the development community.
Nice.
And we've got a good sort of percentage of people that are in management. So they might be ex-development or business line and LOB. And then we have other. One of these days, we'll figure out what that other is. But that's awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to close that slide or that poll. I'm just going to open up one more just so that we understand a bit about sort of why you're here. So if you can go back to that poll and the new one is active, if you could basically fill this out. Mike, this question, since I can't show it to you, is a bit about sort of company's interest, right, in Power Platform. So just asking people sort of to understand where they're at sort of in their journey or looking at that. And we'll get through that. So I'm going to get started and I'll look at that slide on the side. Once again, the chat window is open. Ask questions. We have a bunch of colleagues that are attending the seminar with us. They will be able to ask questions, and then I'll stop at various points and look at those questions, and we'll address that, either Mike or myself or others, or get back to you. Okay, with that. So why, like, even, if you look at the genesis of the Power Platform, as they call it, sort of from Microsoft, is it actually came out of Dynamics. So if you are using or familiar with Microsoft Dynamics and its various sort of versions and incarnations and stuff like that, the Power Platform capabilities were really, I'll call it the development extension capabilities from Dynamics, but they saw so much value and interest in that they actually separated that out from Dynamics itself to create its own sort of solution, because some people didn't need Dynamics, but they needed the automation, the connection, the capabilities sort of that. And why do they need that? Well, through many years, we've seen a lot of digital transformation going on in organizations, right? As people take it up. COVID really, I'll call it, stressed that for a lot of organizations. And COVID-19 sort of changed the world in the way that we work, right? Hybrid work is more commonplace, even though people are being asked to go back to the office because it allows team fostering and stuff like that at a higher level. But there's a lot of apps that need to be built, right? From estimates, looking at the various sort of things underneath from IDC and McKinsey and all that other stuff, like 750 million new apps to be built, right? In a short number of years. That's sort of crazy, right? And why they need to do that is that we do have people working in remote capacity. We do have, especially here in Canada, it's been called out for the last year. We do have sort of, I'll call it a decrease in our productivity. And we also have aging populations in lots of areas around the world. So we need to be able to automate more. We need to be able to have systems sort of share data to give us the insight and things that we need. So we're seeing a huge demand across all industries across the world sort of for this. Now, the challenge is there's not enough developers, right? So for the developers that answered the poll questions and stuff like that, that's awesome. There's areas of development that are changing a lot, especially when we look at things like GitHub Copilot and stuff like that. But there's not enough developers. And a developer, isn't just a universal sort of cog, right? We have areas of expertise and understanding and domain knowledge. But there's not enough developers even for core development things that we're doing. And companies are struggling to hire. We work with a lot of companies out there that aren't tech companies. Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, they attract a lot of the top talent and stuff like that because they're doing a lot of very innovative, cool stuff. When we work with manufacturing companies, when we work with retail companies, when we work with public sector, hospitals, municipalities and stuff like that, it's hard for them sometimes to attract the best talent because hot shots coming out of university or with deep expertise in AI want to go to an area that they think is sort of more cool. We'll talk about why maybe like Government of Newfoundland is actually more cool than a lot of other companies with the stuff they're doing, but we'll save that for a bit later on. So it's tough to find that. And so we enter basically into this area called Power Platform. And we'll talk about Power Platform in a second because it is something that it is a great unification. If you've got development chops, we definitely need that when we're building solutions out. But if you have a business analyst, business people with a technical core, a small technical core, once you set up the foundation and leverage the talents of someone like CentralLogic, you guys can do amazing things with it because the environment is very rapid that way. And the infusion of some of the latest AI capabilities inside of Power Platform for both the users of the solutions you create, but for the developers or people building the solutions, is phenomenal. Like it's just amazing how quick, this generative AI and AI being infused into products is helping. So why CentralLogic? So CentralLogic, just to give you, I've got to do this slide because otherwise my boss will not do a good review on me. So CentralLogic, CentralLogic is a company that's been around for 15 plus years. In fact, CentralLogic has grown through acquisitions of key Microsoft partners in the area of Dynamics, in the area of very leading edge consulting. That's where Mike and I came from, a company called ObjectSharp. And we work very, very closely with a lot of leaders in the industry. And Microsoft is one of our most important partners. And we've worked with Microsoft and their clients on their digital transformation journeys. And sometimes that involves things like Power Platform. Other times it involves things like securing things or Dynamics or other platforms as well. And we help people basically from their adoption of the technology. Some people are very new on this. And as Mike said, we help them with the licensing in Power Platform. We help them understand how to contain the cost. We help them set it up to be secure and meet with HIPAA or other requirements that they might face in their various industries or the financial sort of regulations and stuff like that, so that their foundation is set up. We work with them on the DevOps to automate the release of solutions so that you can get very quick feedback from your internal clients, external clients, and release new capabilities to adapt to the changing world that we need it. We are headquartered in Canada, proudly. We do have offices across North America and Europe, and we work across things outside of this is very focused on Microsoft across the board. And for many of our clients that are a bit smaller and don't have a large IT team and choose to use their budget wisely in other areas, we also offer managed services. So for many of our clients, we just don't help build solutions and hand it off to you. We can even have partial hours and everything else to be able to maintain and update those solutions and be an integrated, extended part of your IT team and your IT strategy for what they need. We've helped clients all across the board. There's a lot of big companies here, from a lot of the large banks, and they seem to sort of work with us a lot over the years, to the smallest, most innovative startup, or what Microsoft would call unicorn type companies. So we help enable not just the technology, we help enable your team. In many of our cases, the consultants we work with have 15 to 20 years of experience. They've lived in the world, dare I say it, of mainframes and of mid-range systems, and long before the internet sort of existed. And that's sort of my legacy, as you can tell by my lack of hair or gray hair. And we've helped them understand this new area and how to take advantage of it and what it's going to mean to help them, whether they're a public sector company, serving the constituents, or basically, in the region I live in Mississauga, right? Or whether we're talking about large, private companies, right? That are looking for greater profit or basically competitive sort of platform. We help enable them with the technology, their teams to understand it and leverage this as best as possible. And in many cases, we continue to manage that for them going forward because it's a much more cost-effective solution to be able to tap into the top expertise we have. So, what is Power Platform? Power Platform is really a bunch of different pieces put together. A lot of people started off with Microsoft and Power BI in sort of the early days, and Power BI is absolutely amazing. I'm still an Excel sort of guy, and I became very powerful with pivot tables and all that other stuff. But Power BI is amazing to be able to look at the data and the information that or the data in your company or outside your company. To be able to extract the information, you need to make your decisions. And Power BI has always been a strong standalone tool, and they sort of bundled it with the Power Platform a while ago. When we think of Power Platform, we'll think of things like PowerApps. So this is a way to rapidly build new applications. And in fact, out of the box, you can say, I want an app that, runs on my laptop and it's very, immersive and all that other stuff. And at the same time, I want to build one out for mobile. Back in the day, I remember Mike Walker and I working with companies as they were trying to, establish their mobile strategy, and how do I post this to the Apple marketplace and the storefronts and stuff like that, and I've got to work in different sort of compilers and languages and all that other stuff. Power Platform changed the rules for that for a lot of people, that you can build both simultaneously, and it scales right to the device size, and it supports the latest devices, like literally out of the box with refreshes and stuff like that, which was always a challenge when we think about the mobile type area. Power Automate is one of the ones that I don't think it's talked enough about, but to me is so important. It's about automating things. In all companies, in my life, there are so many things that I do repetitively, and unfortunately do them wrong sometimes because I'm human, and we need to automate these things. It could be of moving data. It could be connecting data between systems. It could be changing the format of data. It could be automating emails going out. It could be almost anything. And in every organization, for us to get better efficiency, we need to automate this. So like if I was a company that was accepting payment because someone's, joining a club or whatever else, I would want to be able to accept the payments. Once it's accepted, I'd want to be able to validate things. I'd want to update a report for our sales and leadership on how many people are attending, so we can look at trends and stuff like that to understand, do we need to do more marketing to sort of promote this? There are so many things that we want to automate, right? And many of these tasks are simple and repetitive, which unfortunately means that it's error prone for humans. And so we want to be able to do as much as we can. And your organizations, your challenges and your opportunities, but we know the technology, and we've done this for hundreds and hundreds of people. And together, we could do amazing things. Microsoft Power Pages. So Power Pages is all about creating websites fast. We leveraged some of these things when it was portals and in some of the solutions we built out for COVID, for hospitals and stuff like that. And then Microsoft Copilot Studio. So everyone should, know the word Copilot, but it means many different things. Mike, it reminds me almost of the days of .NET and Microsoft that, it was .NET everything, right? .NET to me
Yeah.
was a development platform and libraries, but it was Office.NET and this .NET that it became overwhelming. And I'm getting that deja vu with sort of Copilot now. But Copilot, the simple way to put it is you have Copilots out of the box that Microsoft has created. They have some amazing ones for Office 365 that I use every day to help write, to converse with, to do research, to create PowerPoints, to get insight in Excel. You have amazing copilots for Dynamics, if you're using Dynamics, to really accelerate from servicing and sales and everything else. Copilot, you also can create custom ones, because in many cases, it's not just about those SaaS applications and things that you use. It's about mining into your data that stays private, your data, right, to give your team or extend it to your clients, right, to have that Copilot experience. And Copilot to me is a very apropos name because it is a co-pilot to you. You are still in charge, right? And you need to be in charge. And generational AI is improving daily, but it makes mistakes just like I make mistakes and misjudgments. And so this is to help accelerate people, to help them get the insight they want, to self-service. And we've done some amazing things with Copilot and even just the core AI capabilities inside of Azure. That if you guys are looking at AI, me or some of my colleagues would love to talk to you a bit about that, because it is a fascinating area. It's a bit scary sometimes and it moves pretty quick, but it's wonderful. So what does Power Platform do for your business? Well, we have a lot of clients that have a lot of applications built out in things like Lotus Notes. If you don't know what Lotus Notes is, don't worry about it. It's a platform that's been degraded a long time ago, but it broke the boundaries for a lot of people. It actually challenged Microsoft a lot when it was creating its Office 365 and SharePoint areas. And so a lot of people have to do application modernization, right? These older applications, if it's on servers that aren't supported or on platforms that aren't supported, they need to be modernized. And in many cases, you want to modernize things to enhance the security of it, because these older platforms didn't have the security threats or awareness that we face nowadays in this bigger digital world. So for many people, they will need to upgrade, extend the solutions they have. And we've seen a lot of work done lately for targeting things like Lotus, or a lot of people used Excel in the early days to build really complex applications. And it's tough to have the DevOps around it. It's sort of impossible. It's tough to sort of extend that and debug it, because it really wasn't meant for doing that. So for some people, they need to modernize, right? VB6 apps and Power Platform, in many cases, is an amazing thing to do for that, because out of the box, it has hundreds and hundreds. In fact, I think the last count was 1,300 different data connector interfaces. So this is connectors with common apps nowadays like Salesforce, right? Or SQL, or other sort of solutions out there. And to build these API integrations to applications that are out there, these standalone things that you use in your company, is quite expensive and requires actually really good development skills. And you get that out of the box. We all have line of business applications that we love to hate, or maybe we love to love, I don't know, but we need to extend it. This could be things such as SAP, right, in bigger organizations. And Power Platform can bolt on to the side to add new functionality quickly without the long extended sort of development cycles and risk depending upon your QA automation. Power Platform for professional developers, it's interesting. At ObjectSharp, that was acquired by CentralLogic, we were a bunch of hardcore developers, and like very, very big on development. And I still remember the first day, and I still remember Mike's face as leading and creating this new area in Power Platform, and the developers, it's not a real platform. It doesn't do that. And the number of developers, hardcore people that have come over, because the thing is it is a development platform, and you still have to think of it that way. It's not just whip an application together, get it into production. You want to have your QA and testing environments and test automation and DevOps and security and everything else. And this was a shortcoming of Power Platform like or rapid application development solutions in the past, right? That was that way. So when we actually build out teams to help companies, whether it's big banks, right, whether it's small organizations, it's a combination of core developers, Power Platform specialists and architects, and DevOps people. And we treat it very much like that. Enhancing employee experiences. Most companies, double down on solutions that go external and don't really invest a lot internal. You think of expense reporting or any of those other sort of internal solutions. This can enhance for relatively little cost internal experiences to allow internal applications and people to work better together. You can empower departments. We've worked with many people to help train them up and build foundational applications for it, and then they're able to take it forward because they can respond very quickly to the business needs, and it can use budget very effectively. And the hyper automation, to me, this is what a lot of companies need to look at. What can we automate? What can we do? So why, right? Building complex solutions faster with low code, right? It is not the panacea and it does not replace all development, right? We have a very unique view at CentralLogic because we've done big mainframe replacement development projects. We've done custom complex for ISVs, building new SaaS solutions, and we've done a lot for other organizations. We can bring a very interesting view to your organization of comparing the relative platforms, right? And build the right thing for your organization, right? And to meet you sort of where you're at and what you need from that. But Power Platform has increased its sort of capabilities and everything else that we see it addressing a bigger and bigger sort of portion of the market. And it has changed the development landscape, especially I'll call it in our SMB customers and sort of mid-market customers, that they've really gone much, much more towards low code type solutions versus a custom sort of .NET stuff. But the reason they can do that is because it provides the governance and the scale and everything else. This is built on top of Azure. Azure is, in every country. There's private ones for government. There's all of these things put in place for healthcare and everything else, so that that underlying platform on which this is built is hyper scalable. It is very, very cost effective for what it needs to do, and allows you to really look at what do I need to provide for the business and not worry as much about the plumbing underneath. This helps your businesses move quicker, right? Whether it's end-to-end automation, right? Whether it's building a culture in your organization of not just accepting status quo, but looking at these things to say, what solutions can I put in place? Microsoft coined it for a while. I think they're going away from that sort of terminology a bit now about the citizen developer. But this is really something truly that allows IT to have the controls that they need and the insight that they need, but allows your organizations to move quicker. But what you need is a trusted partner to help you get started, to maybe do some of that heavy lifting and build out the blueprints and the prototypes, educate your team, right, to be able to sort of drive these things forward. And the organizations that take these things up will create an environment that is better for their employees, better for their customers, that they feel they're getting the information they want more quickly, that they aren't doing repetitive, sort of mundane, boring things, and they can accelerate them sort of forward. So this is something that I would recommend all people if they haven't played with much. Microsoft has a lot of seminars. One of the biggest developer conferences they have is Build, and there's a lot of amazing sort of things around it. Microsoft just wrapped up, not Microsoft directly, but the community of a Power Platform conference that just went on. I think it was this last month. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think
in September in Vegas.
Right, in Vegas, and like the attendance was sort of through the roof, right? And like, look at those things. Microsoft, if you can't attend these things in person, Microsoft, streams the keynotes and sessions for free, right? And like, it's a great way to sort of learn and understand, and maybe double down on your industry and see what people are doing, and that might be able to help you and your organization. Power Platform Copilot. So once again, Copilot is sort of everywhere. Custom copilots is a big thing, right? And we're seeing this evolve rapidly, right? So like this whole generational AI, right, stuff is really just sort of the thin edge of the wedge to what AI really is for organizations. But this allows you to build copilots. Many organizations have created chatbots over the years for their websites or internal. But these chatbots were very, very structured in the sense of, if this word was said, this is the answer that I give. It really wasn't was more pattern matching, I'm going to say, than it was really understanding things. We built out for people custom co-pilots that will help their internal HR query, the benefits that the benefits provider that's basically providing benefits to the organization, that then could tie into some automation to create automatic employment letters or other things to help organizations service their employees that much quicker. There are so many different things you can do with this, right? You do need to look at the costs and understand sort of how that works sort of in the back end, and things continue to sort of evolve on that. But you do need to, if you're in the Microsoft family, look at Copilot. And Power Platform is one of the principal interfaces that people use to the back end sort of generational AI capabilities to help you do that. And Mike, I think, is going to give a bit of an example of that later on. So AI in Power Platform, because AI is top of mind for everyone. From a development type standpoint, you have Copilot sort of in Power Platform, and you have Copilot Studio and stuff like that. You have templates there. You have AI assistant saying, hey, I need to integrate with this, or I need to automate this process. And you can talk at it, and then Power Platform will build up a lot of the code for that. Very similar to if you're a core developer, GitHub Copilot just absolutely amazes me every single day when that's used by our teams here for the insight and help that it can give. It's like many mentors looking over the shoulder of them that they can sort of interface with to query the code, to look at best practices around security or threats or performance optimization. From the standpoint of sort of the users, right? There's a lot of things for AI generated analytics. You have the ability to query things, which is very common with generational sort of AI. I use that capability a lot sort of with my Copilot on the desktop and everything else, and to generate the actions, right? Generate these macros and connections. And this evolves rapidly. As soon as Mike and I sort of learn this stuff and create slides, we almost have to update the slides. So it's good that we have a Copilot for PowerPoint to help us.
Yeah, I live and die by Copilot. I use it, number one, as part of the application to query data, but I also use it, especially as a developer, I use it to help with syntax. Like when you're context switching between different components of the Power Platform, the formulas are a little different in one area versus the other, using DAX and Power BI versus Power Effects and Power Apps. And Copilot is always a lifesaver when it comes to syntax. Like, I've got a little red line. Why do I have a red line? Please explain. And Copilot usually says, you did something stupid. This is the answer. And oh yeah, that's what it was. So Copilot is just a lifesaver.
Yeah, what it comes back with. Like, I still remember, Mike, one of the clients we were working with, and they had a very archaic, not anywhere in the top 20 data platform that you required to integrate with, right? And like, there wasn't a lot of knowledge on this. Like, this system was, I'm not going to say older than us because, well, not older than me, but it was pretty old, right? And it was, a decrepit sort of system. And Mike was able to use sort of the equivalent of Copilot and stuff like that, ChatGPT and stuff like that, to be able to build out a data string, right? To be able to interact with it to get the data that he wanted. And it worked. Now, what I'd say though is you had enough knowledge because of working with other systems that you could say this came back with wasn't gibberish, right? So this is the challenge, I'd say, with a lot of Copilots and things coming back, is you still need a sanity check, right? It is a Copilot. It is not replacing you, right? And you still need that expertise and understanding. Anyway, Power Platform. What makes this really different than a lot of things in the past, and I've talked about that, is, when we think about security, right, there is data encryption, there's loss prevention, there's identity management tying into Entra. I still like Azure AD, but and from a security standpoint, to make this sort of controlled, you can even control saying, I need the solution just to run in Canada because that's the requirements of what I'm doing, right? And all of this can be sort of set up when you're basically leveraging our expertise and Microsoft sort of insight for Center of Excellence to sort of govern that. So when we look at compliance from where it can be hosted, the standards behind it, data privacy, we created macros that automatically cleanse PII data from sort of COVID cases and stuff like that to give the data real time to management to understand outbreaks and what's going on without jeopardizing sort of PII. from a governance standpoint, and this is sort of key for a lot of organizations, right? The integration with things like DevOps, the integration with things from a development platform that I have a backlog. I know what I'm working on. I know what test cases are connected to this. I can automatically push things forward. I can look at usage information behind these things, right? System health, right? And what's going on in the various areas. I can automatically scale things up should I need more access to Power Pages and stuff like that. These are the things that make this fundamentally different than rapid application development platforms in the past, because it is a development platform, right? And to allow developers, hardcore developers, to do the customizations or maybe some unique API integration where it doesn't exist, working side by side with your technical sort of business users. We use a lot of business BAs, business administrators, leverage this platform that have an interest in technology, and we train them up and they can carry it forward. To me, it's just, it is absolutely amazing. And I wish this sort of existed back in the day. I got to actually check with some of our education clients whether this is actually being taught at things like University of Waterloo and other universities. So maybe I'll check with Karen McGregor on that. Anyway, bit about one of our cases, right? And we've, we started with Power Platform really prior to COVID with some of the interest, but it really took off during COVID. We were an integral sort of the development backend part to the Return to Work initiative, which was jointly done by, what was that center from U of T again? Destructive Labs or something?
Oh, Creative Destruction Labs, yeah.
Creative Destruction Labs, and I'm going to say that wrong all the time, CDL, and Microsoft, where they basically built a system out on Azure and Power Platform that was leveraged by a lot of the top companies in Canada to help people return to work in a very secure manner. One of our clients that we've worked with that was sort of cool is Government of Newfoundland. I gave them sort of a prop at the beginning. These guys, the change in management and the change in understanding modernization and the importance of that to serve the citizens of Newfoundland has been absolutely amazing. They have a lot of mainframe apps. We've worked very successfully with them on helping sort of move those off to a more cost-effective, more modern, more extensible sort of solution. But in working with them, we were working actually with their safety inspectors and stuff, and they had a legacy application, right? And it was a good app at the time that it was built, but it ran on a laptop. It required sort of connectivity. It didn't have a lot of the reporting or insight because it wasn't a requirement back then and was hard to extend. And we were able to sort of rebuild and reimagine that solution, leveraging Power Platform, that it gave them an ability and a solution that was running on their phone. And it was interesting because Power Platform released a new capability while we're in flight in this project to allow offline capabilities. And a lot of people have to work offline. Internet doesn't exist everywhere, or it's not cost effective. And we were able to integrate those capabilities of offline capabilities on the fly into the solution so that these inspectors, as they're driving down a road or going to an appointment, can report on this, can take pictures integrated with it. The data is automatically streamed, reports are generated, insight, and this reduced what would take, hours to days down to minutes to hours to be able to give them insight and to allow them to use the technology that they have in their very hands and to be able to do that, which has greatly then increased the safety for the citizens and the workers across Newfoundland. Like, it was just amazing what the team led by Mike was able to do to help them. And this now extends into other areas as they look at Power Platform as a key part of all of their modernization efforts, right, inside of the government. So they look at everything from child to education to welfare to inspection and so on and so forth. And they basically created a blueprint, right, of saying, this is the way we're rapidly going to be able to create these solutions, because it allows the business to sort of extend once that foundation is put in place. Okay, I've talked way too much. How can we help? We've got prepackaged sort of things. Discovery is a great way to start in many cases with organizations, right? Whether you're doing an application, building something automation from scratch where it was just manual, whether you're doing an application sort of modernization sort of effort or an extension, we have discovery sessions around that. For a lot of our big clients, they have something called PEGA, which was a sort of precursor, if you want to call it, from a technological sort of solution of the low code. But due to cost and sort of extensibility and stuff like that, a lot of people are looking at Power Platform. So we've done a lot of those efforts for organizations. We've done a lot of Lotus and Excel, as I mentioned, and just helping people sort of automate from the beginning. So we have prepackaged sort of solutions around that. In the last survey, you can basically ask for someone to engage with you, and they can talk to you a bit about your situation and your opportunities, and we can help you with that. So with that, Mike, I know I'm a bit over. I'm going to pass it to you for demo time.
All good. Let me share my screen. So for
Awesome.
the demo, let me see if which one did I share? Do you guys see my courses, PowerApps?
We do now. Yes.
Okay, perfect, excellent. Okay, so from demonstration purposes, what I did was I last night I quickly cobbled together an application, a 3-screen app, Canvas app that allows users to log in, see what courses are made available within their organization, see when they are available, and then also sign up for one. So the idea was really just keep it simple and just kind of show everyone the art of the possibility. And then after all this, I'm going to show you guys how we can use Copilot to interact with that data and query that data. So to get started now, in the interest of time, because sometimes provisioning the tables using AI can take a few extra minutes because it's doing all the work for you instead of you having to create the tables from scratch. What I had done is, why isn't my mouse? There we go. There we go. What I had done was I had created these 4 tables. I had used AI to create these 4 tables. I basically just Copilot popped up. I'm not going to do it now because they're already created. But Copilot had popped up and asked me what tables do I want to create. And I said in my prompt, I would like to create a course schedule, an instructor table, and an attendee table. And it automatically created all the tables for me, including all the fields that I needed. I could have added extra fields if I wanted to, but it also created all of the relationships between the tables. So a course schedule needs to be linked to a course. An instructor needs to be linked to a course, and an attendee needs to be linked to a course schedule as well too. It did that all automatically for me in about 4 minutes, 5 minutes last night. So again, it was just Copilot prompted me, what do you want me to do? And it automatically started to create all those relationships for me, which was very, very nice and cool. I could also have used Copilot to create the app, but I like to have a little more control over my app, largely because I'm just a little bit of a control freak with that stuff sometimes. But what I had done was I created an app called My Courses. Now I'm editing the app here. And again, the way Microsoft has kind of, really simplified things a lot for the developer audience is that basically everything is templated now, and you don't have to use them, but you can. But everything is templated. Everything is automatically responsive and supports, your phone form factor, your tablet form factor, and your browser form factor. And it does it out of the box, where in the past you would have to choose either a tablet or a phone form factor before you started your app. Now what it does is it automatically builds it and makes it possible for the application to be able to support multiple form factors out of the box, which is amazing. I don't know why they haven't removed it when you go to create your app to say, do you want to create it for tablet or phone? Because it doesn't matter. But anyways, it does it out of the box for you. So if I was to create a new screen, I'm not going to do it now, but just to show you some of the templates that are available. We have these blank templates. We have sidebar, header, and footer. So it automatically builds these structures for you, depending on which one you want to choose. You've got a header and form. You've got header and tables, table and form. You've got scrollable. You've got lists. And if you're going to print, you've got print-based structures as well too for landscape or portrait. These top ones, if it says preview, it means it's not necessarily generally available. You could use it, but it's suggested that you do not use these in a production environment. But most of these usually become generally available within a few months of being preview. So to keep this simple, what I had done first and foremost was I created a course list. And so I added a new screen, and the screen was this screen here with the sidebar. And all I had done was with these two containers was I created a header container, which is this section up here. And then I created a bottom container. And it does this automatically for you. And all I did was I dropped in two tables. We have this table here, which is the list of courses. And then we have this table here, which is the course schedule. So the idea is you choose your course, choose your course schedule. You can then view the attendees, and then you can then register for the course. When you register for the course, you'll get a quick email, and then ultimately you'll be listed as an attendee for the course. So we have the course list. This is one screen. Then we've got the list of course attendees, which is another screen, which follows a slightly different format. But in the course attendees, you get the list when you click on the course. I'll walk through this. You'll get the list of courses, and then here this will list all of the attendees that are signed up for that particular course. From there, you can ultimately register. So I'll show you very quickly how this works in the end. This took me, because I'm very familiar with the Power Platform. This took me about, I want to say, 35 minutes to pull together as an application. It's fairly simple and straightforward in its structure, and it doesn't have a lot of data points. It's just 4 tables, but it does kind of really highlight the art of the possibility in that Microsoft makes it very easy with the templates that they provide. And you're literally just saying, I want this to be a table. I want this to be a form to capture this information, and so forth. So it's very easy. This is really just 3 screens. All screens came from using one of these templates. So I'm just going to play the app just to show you guys what it looks like. So if I click here on PowerApps Beginner, it automatically filters out my courses here, and I can see, which room, what's the start date of the course, is it still active? I can click on Azure DevOps, Azure Fundamentals. These are the course schedules. The other neat thing about building it out this way is that when you use the Copilot and AI assistance, when you're building your table structure, is it automatically throws sample data in for you, which to me is a godsend, because you can burn a lot of time just creating sample data for your applications when you're developing them. So I thought that was really cool. So as an example, I'm going to go to Azure DevOps, and if I click here on the file, it already, or on that particular course schedule, it already lists who's attending. So I can see I'm already attending these two. I'm already attending the Azure DevOps class. And of course, Diana Yellow, which is one of the example, example records, is also here as well too. If I go back and I choose Azure Fundamentals, and if I click here on this course schedule, I can see Bob is signed up. But in this case, I want to sign up as well too. So I'm going to click here on Register. And it automatically, now this is a very basic form, it just captures the name, the email, and the course. I didn't quite format it as nice, but I'll go Mike Walker, and the email would be that. In the course, I'm going to go for Azure Fundamentals. And if I click Submit, saving across the top, and brings me back to the original screen. And if I click here, where is it? There we go, sorry. I'm now registered for Azure Fundamentals. I should also, in a second, receive an email. It'll come through. Sometimes it takes a second to get through here. I will also receive an email basically saying, thank you for registering for the course. I wonder why this is slow to respond here. I don't know if that's a Teams thing or not. What I had done to send the email, browser seems to be not liking me today. Oh, there we go. There's the email. The email came through, and basically it just says, you created a quick Power Automate flow that just sends an email. It detects that a new record was created, and sends an email out. I'm not quite sure what's going on with my browser right now. It seems to be frozen. That's weird. Microsoft Edge. It's not my friend today. Let's go to a new one.
You didn't do an offering to the demo gods before the session.
I did not do an offering to the demo gods. Clearly, my whole browser
should have bought them
froze.
a Starbucks as well.
Clearly. And the whole thing just froze. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. All right. Well, I'm just going to kill it. Just stop sharing. Okay. So at that point, I've also created this simple cloud flow. And all this cloud flow does, let me just edit in a new tab, is just accept. This is a very basic cloud flow, but again, you can use AI in here to help create formulas if you have any sort of complex data transformation. That is a huge help instead of searching the internet whenever you're trying to find a syntax issues. You can see Copilot kicks in and makes suggestions here as well too. And then this flow is very basic. All it does is it has a trigger that basically says whenever a new record is added to the attendees, which is when we submit the form, that's the trigger. Is it basically says if a new record's added, do the rest of what's in this particular flow. So in this case, all I'm doing here is sending an email. The email is being passed from the attendee record, and I just have the subject. I could fill in more information here in the body, but all it does here is fundamentally just fire off the email that you see here of thank you for registering for the course. We could add the course details. We could add a calendar entry like an ICS file so that it actually embeds itself in your calendar when you open it. But that is ultimately what the flow does. It's very simple and basic as to how it operates. So again, this is a simple app. All it does is allows you to see your courses, choose a course that you're interested in, see who's joining in case any of your colleagues are joining as well too, and then ultimately allow you to register for the course and then tell you that you're registered for the course. When you jump over to the Copilot side of things,
Mike, you stop sharing your screen.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
just want to make sure.
Yeah, my Teams is that's really weird. I really should have made a sacrifice to the demo gods. 1 second here. Let me see. See what's going on with Teams here. All right, can you see?
It is coming. Yep, back up again.
Okay, perfect. So when you go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com, basically what I want to do here is I want to integrate this Copilot with the data and the data that I've captured in our Dataverse database in our application that I just demoed very quickly. Now you can create a Copilot very easily here. There are some sample templates you can go with that integrate with various APIs. You can just create a new one out of the box. I've already created one. Typically, this process is very easy in that what you're doing is, you give it your Copilot a name, you give it a fairly good description, you give it some instructions. You don't add knowledge yet. The best time to add knowledge is after the Copilot is created. This can take a few minutes to do, so I'm not going to go do it at this point. But if you go into the existing Copilots, I've already created one called course registration. Now, in this Copilot, all I've done is I've given it the description, and I've given it some very rudimentary instructions. And then the knowledge is the key point. So there's 2 key elements or 3 key elements to a Copilot. It's what knowledge is it going to be looking at? What topics do I need to define outside of the out of the box topics that are there? And a topic is basically, think of it as a trigger to continue a conversation with the Copilot itself. And then, of course, you have actions. So if you have actions like I want to connect to SAP and extract this account information or any outstanding invoices or anything like that, you can create actions that would allow and support that integration with those third-party applications. So in this particular case, I have very basic, very simple knowledge sources that I added here. So you can add public websites, you can go to SharePoint, you can go to Dataverse. In this case, I'd already gone to Dataverse and I had basically added the attendee table, the course table, and the course schedule table. And that was it. So the idea is that by easily adding these tables, and I think if I understand correctly, you can add up to 2 different Dataverses and 15 tables from each Dataverse, specifically just around Dataverse when you're querying this information. So now if I want to test it, I'm already connected to it because I already did all this legwork last night. I can start to ask questions like, what courses do we currently offer? And it'll now go out and actually query the database, and it'll return a list. So there are currently 5 courses being offered. The top courses are which courses have the most attendees. Now, if you also wanted to extend this further, you can leverage SharePoint data. So if you have files or SharePoint lists stored in SharePoint Online, you can add those as knowledge sources and you can start to query those documents directly. So here you can see the courses with the most attendees are Azure DevOps and Azure Fundamentals and Power Automate Advanced. Who is attending the Azure DevOps course? Now, I did nothing special outside of adding these tables as knowledge sources. And then it allows me to start to query that information directly. So if I had a list of contacts, or accounts, I could say, please list all the contacts in this city, or please list all the contacts for this organization, or this particular account, or please summarize the list of invoices for 2024 for this contact or account. You can easily run all of these queries or create all these queries just by adding those particular tables as knowledge areas within Copilot.
Crazy, Mike. Like you think about like the efficiencies a business user can get out of this, because then I don't even have to get someone to send me the report or what table to sort of look at, even attaching Power BI to it. I can talk to it like I'd be talking to you as an expert in behind to get that. Like to me, this is the power of this, right? And it requires good data in the back end and everything else, but like stuff like this just will enhance every organization, every user experience, which is just drive more customers to you if you have customers in that sense, or just actually delight your customers more, if you're public sector servicing people. That's amazing. And how quick, right? And I know this stuff inside out, but like amazing.
Yeah, it is a little mind-blowing considering the how little the effort is to build them. It really is an eye-opener. And then, of course, naturally, just getting the users comfortable with them, which shouldn't be an issue because it's conversational. It's very easy to work with. So, it is quite amazing. Like I said, I did a demo months back where I built a quick Copilot where we could start to query information on our consultants. Who has this certification, who has that certification. And that was just literally a table in a PDF document that I put in a SharePoint online document library. So it's a little scary as to how easy Microsoft has made it. So
but that's the way the world is changing. Like when we think about applications, right? People want information from an application. They don't necessarily want a complex UI. Right, we did that in order to give them options and stuff like that. And this, it is a bit of a new wave of what is your interface to your data going forward.
Yeah, we could create an action where the user would say, I'd like to sign up for this particular course on
Yeah,
this day. And it would create the record for you. You would get an email, and that would just be created under your actions down here. Just create a quick action that integrates with Dataverse to that table, and you'd be done.
that's amazing. So Mike, I don't, do
Yeah.
you have more in the demo, or is that sort of, I
No,
only gave you so much
no.
time. Okay.
That's
So
that's the art of the possibility. So I just wanted to cover
beautiful.
those basic things.
Mike, I want to thank you, for taking time away from your very important, busy clients that you have. I know you worked late last night on getting the demos and, getting all this stuff together and preparing for this day. I want to thank everyone that attended. I know some people are dropping off because we all have very tight schedules. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank the people that have already finished filling out the surveys and the ones that are underway. That feedback is really important to us. I hope that this has given you, as Mike said, a bit of the art of the possible and an understanding of what this platform can really do to enable the digital transformation in your organizations. I hope we also have equally given you a small taste of the expertise, right, of Mike Walker and the big team behind them that basically supports our clients, along with the other areas in CentralLogic, and how we can be your trusted partner. We look forward to engaging in future conversations with you. And should you want to reach out to us, emails are there. In the survey, you can request someone, and yeah, I think you can even request up to half an hour of Mike or one of his experts' time to better understand your situation, to see how we might be able to work together. So with that, I'll monitor the emails for a bit, or the text coming in for a bit, to see if there's any other questions. Thank you very much for the feedback that's already been there. Kim is typing one right now. And with that, you don't have to hang around. And Mike, I know you got to get on to some other things. We'll respond to any questions that come in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you on another seminar. I think our next seminar coming up is going to be hosted by my colleague, Peter Vanderzau. And it's going to be focused on Databricks. Another very exciting area, very complementary, I'd say, to sort of PowerApps, and definitely central to a lot of digital transformations, especially on the data side for organizations. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone, and sorry for the Teams issues. Stupid Teams.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize for that, Mike. You're being a polite Canadian right now. That's okay, right? Things do happen, and it happens to all of us. And we recover and we move forward. And Mike, thanks again. I love doing these sessions with you. This truly is the highlight of my day. Thanks everyone.